Welcome, guys. This is the first episode of PJ's never mind. Hold up. Let me get it. I gotta get a script going.
Underground Mobcast.
Yeah, I'm so used to PJ's Underground. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Underground Mobcast. Here with PJ's Underground and my co-host, Lando Capo. Lando, say hello to the people.
Hello, people. Hello,
All right.
people.
So first thing on the list this week, Raw. I mean, the landscape of professional wrestling is changing before our very eyes.
Yes.
Do
Our
you?
very eyes, because Triple H is under creative control, and he's doing a great job. Really.
I heard that Shawn Michaels actually is now part of like the booking or talent relations or something like that. So D-Generation X is actually running
Yeah. He's
WWE.
running WWE. I think I also think that Shawn Michaels is like part of or not part of is now like the CEO of NXT, probably.
I would
Or
assume
like,
so. I mean, if that is accurate, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of NXT 2.0. I feel like everybody preferred the black and gold.
yeah, I miss the black and gold, actually. Yeah.
I feel like the
Now it's
black and
all
gold was
about,
the time to be alive.
yeah. Now it's just that, like, it's all like rainbow colors and shit. Like if you're, it's like, you remember back in the days when you're watching Disney Channel, if they got one of like the Disney actors on, they'd be saying their names, and they would also say, and you're watching Disney Channel. And they would just draw, like, the logo and shit, you know?
Yeah, the
That's
little
what
Mickey
I
Mouse
picture.
head.
Yeah, the little Mickey Mouse head. But instead, it's Triple H just drawing the NXT. Or no, was it? I think it was Vince. It was Vince who did that, right? Who created
Who switched it
2.0.
over to 2.0? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's Vince. That's Vince who draw the 2.0 logo.
I mean, how do you feel in regards to Vince McMahon leaving as a whole? Do you think it's game changing? Do you think it's going to be what sets WWE apart in this new era of professional wrestling?
I mean, it is a game changer. Really, it is a game changer because we been like seeing things that that weren't like how should I say this? Really interesting. I don't know how to say it, but you get the point, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I mean, right now, it's the time for them to adapt, you know?
Yeah, and we see for the past like couple of years we see a bunch of releases. Like for example, like last year where Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, um uh Keith Lee and also like a few months ago, like Dakota Kai, Dexter Loomis. Yeah, we like even though some of those releases went to AEW or Impact Wrestling, or New Japan, but also like Triple H re-signed them, which is good. It's a good thing he's in control now. Because once they got called up to the main roster, they went on a downfall, really. Like Karrion Kross, for example, right? At first, he was just like this monster of a man that calls him like the Doomsayer or the End, or Killer,
Yeah, and I mean,
and,
look at what they
and
did as soon as he moved up to the main roster. They did nothing with him, and that's truly a sign of like, I don't know if it's Vince McMahon and him not wanting to push talents, or if it's just Someone made a point. I don't remember who it was, but I remember seeing it on Instagram. Someone was talking about how it was hard for them to adjust because they were coming from more of an indie style company like NXT, and then moving up to this main roster WWE where everything changed, right? I mean, the product as a whole at that point was nowhere near what NXT was. We all were watching NXT if we were trying to find like that indie style, and if you were looking for more of that kid-based, viewer-friendly type, then you were watching the main roster, right? You were watching Raw, you were watching SmackDown. So
Yes.
it was hard for those guys to come up and adjust. And I think the way Triple H is doing it now, those guys would have been able to do it if he would have been in control the whole time. They would have been able to make it, and it would have been no problem.
Yes. And also, I should I was about to say this, that like soon as Karrion Kross went up to the main roster, I mean, his first match on Raw, it was against Jeff Hardy. And this is when Jeff Hardy brought back the No More Words entrance music. And it was like a 2-minute match, really. And like Jeff Hardy put Karrion Kross in a leverage pin, and Hardy has his foot on the ropes, and everybody was pissed. Really, everybody was pissed that Karrion Kross was cheated, and it was a 2-minute match, and it was in his debut. Really,
Yeah, no, that was an incredibly bad look for like the NXT roster as a whole. I mean, you have the guy who was just champion a month.
who's the NXT champion?
Yeah, wasn't he
Like,
champion when that happened too?
yeah, he was NXT champion as he'd been called up,
And as
and
soon as he got there, they buried him.
yes,
I heard it was a
and
punishment though from Vince.
how's that a punishment?
I heard that him and Karrion Kross had butted heads backstage about some creative stuff, and because of that, decided that, you know what, Vince McMahon buried him instead. So instead of pushing him like supposedly was planned, he buried him. And then what? 2 months, 3 months later, he got released. Not even.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
because
now that's
because
actually like crazy to me.
he was once known as the Doomsayer, the Killer, and the End. But when he got called up, he was a gladiator.
Yeah. No, I
Gladiator.
I thoroughly did enjoy what they were doing with him. At that point,
Mhm.
in NXT at least.
Well, yeah, in NXT.
But as soon as he came up to the main roster, I knew he was kind of screwed.
Yes, with this fucking gladiator helmet, yet you know, carrying cross. Yeah. Even he like the day that he went back to WWE, it was on Friday Night SmackDown. It was on Friday Night SmackDown. And even though, let me tell you, I didn't watch SmackDown because I was actually at a wrestling event.
Fair enough.
Uh yeah. If you look at my Instagram, I was taking a picture with a wrestler who just won his first singles title.
Really. Is it like a indie promotion around you?
Yes. It's a regional promotion. It's called ACW Wisconsin. ACW, it stands for All Star Championship Wrestling. And guess who is owned? Who's the owner?
Who?
Hornswoggle.
No way.
Yes.
That's
Yes
actually
way.
awesome.
Yeah. And the and also I'm thinking about training.
Really, you want to start doing in ring
Yeah, in the ring.
really?
They yeah. I got their contact number, and they messaged that they'll be starting training. They'll be starting training this fall. They don't know where in fall, but they will start around fall.
Word. Well,
Yeah,
that's cool. I
yeah,
personally want to be more on like the commentating side. Like, I don't want to be inside the ring. I want to be the one doing everything else, or like a Paul Heyman, you know?
yeah. I'm either a manager or commentator. I don't blame you.
Yeah, that way I don't have to take the bumps. Number one. Number two, I feel like my personality kind of fits that better. I feel like I can
Yeah,
talk for
yeah,
days, whereas performing, I mean, eventually I feel like I'd get bored of it. So,
yeah. I've been. I mean, I've been. I can like. Many people say that like, are you committed? And I said yes. I'm committed. I'm committed of doing the training.
so have you always wanted to do that since you were like a little kid?
But yeah, ever since I was 8.
See, that's how I feel like with the commentary side of things. Like, I've always loved Jim Ross. I always loved Jerry the King Lawler growing up. You know, that's who you saw on the commentators table. It ended up being
Yeah,
Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler eventually, but seeing those guys, I always was like, I want to be there. You know, I want to be sitting in that seat, calling the match, selling. I
yeah.
feel like I'd be a natural heel if I were to do it.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Usually, I mean, what would be your like commentator name? Because like for example, like Corey Graves, even though he used to be a wrestler, but now he's retired. Like Corey Graves, it's not his real name. You know that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd probably use my real name because I do want to bring glory to the Man Get name. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Like, would it be like Parker Manget or PJ Manget?
Parker Manget for sure.
Okay, okay,
PJ is actually like, so PJ's Underground. The story behind that, my cousin and one of my buddies I met through Instagram years ago, who does like custom action figures and stuff for me. Those are the
yeah.
only two people who actually call me PJ. But instead of being like Parker's Underground, I figured we'll switch it up. We'll go with PJ, and that's where that all started at.
I thought it would be like a nick. Well, it is the nickname for you, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a nickname like that people have given me. I personally like don't go by it. Like, if someone were to call me PJ out in public, like, I wouldn't respond, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't even realize they were talking to me. So
Oh, well, I thought like the J. That doesn't. It's not like the first initial of your middle name, right?
no, it is. Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Oh,
That's why like my cousin calls me PJ and stuff.
oh, but you rather be called Parker instead.
Yeah. So I mean, like on Instagram, I like to keep kind of my identity hidden, like with my figure
Oh,
photography stuff. I feel like because I'm pitching off of like the Lucha Underground logo and like ideas. So
hmm
just like one of those guys, I want my, I want my mask or whatever, kind of like Excalibur, but I wouldn't do that if I were to actually make it to like a commentary desk. So
okay. Also,
whereas it was more just for like my
also,
safety because I started PJ's Underground when I was still like not even 18. So
okay. And just to let everybody know, yes, our logo is from Lucha Underground.
yeah, so what we kind of did is we took aspects of both of us and kind of tied it in together. Like the underground has kind of been the thing I've been pushing on social media in terms of my wrestling social media. PJ's Underground, go follow it, go like it up, I guess. It's just a bunch of action figure photography, so enjoy it. But the Underground Mobcast, I feel like that's a solid name. I feel like that it's something
Well,
new. It's
our
something
name,
fresh.
well, that's the name of the podcast. Our group name is the Underground Mob.
Yes, the Underground Mafia, aka the Underground Mob, because
Yes.
Mafia always sounds good.
Like, yeah, you could call us the mob or the mafia. It doesn't really matter. And I'm El Capo, and And Parker's like my consigliere. Just so you know, it means like counselor.
Counselor? I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I prefer to be
It's
called the Don, but
no. You have to if you're the Don, you have to be an Italian.
I know. I'm an honorary Italian, though, as you said.
I mean, true, but I mean, you could be a capo regime,
What's that
which
mean?
means like it's like an like kind of like a under like an underboss.
Word. I
You know what I
like
mean?
that. I like that. All right,
Like
so
you're
let's
like
get
in
to
part
business here a
like
little bit. Um,
like
so we just went on our little rant about our name and kind of get to know us a little bit. I'm currently in college, going to U of M Flint, chasing
yes,
a communications degree.
like I just graduated. Like I just graduated last May. And to me, I'm like having second thoughts if I'm either going to college or not, but like I'm just thinking about working for now on.
Honestly, man, it's a piece of paper. Like that's pretty much it. It looks good if the employer you're looking to get with requires something like that. It looks great, but it is just a piece of paper that says you did something. The only thing about college that I really like is the connections that you can make. You could be sitting next to somebody and have no idea, but they could help further your career 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 2 years down the line. So,
Yes.
and one of my
Yeah.
counselors, he was actually the one who kind of voiced that to me because I've always looked at college just like a piece of paper, right? So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk
And
AEW trios. Um, we just saw
yeah,
Kenny
the
Omega
eight.
come back.
Yeah. Be part
That
as with the Young Bucks as part of the elite. They just beaten La, Fa- La Facción Ingobernable. That's the name. That's the name.
I'm not
That's
gonna
the
lie
name.
to you. I'm very impressed with Roosh, and his brother was impressive. I mean, that match was damn good.
Yeah. Yeah. Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee.
Dragon
That's
Lee,
it.
yeah. That match
And
was damn good. I was very impressed with both teams. Glad to see Kenny come back and get a win. And
yeah, he
that
was
leads
wearing a
me to the
back
next
brace.
thing, though. What about the Undisputed Elite? Do you think they cost the
Oh, that's
Elite?
a good one. That's a
Uh,
good one. That's a good one. That's a good point there. Would they cost the elite? Would they cost the elite the trios championship?
Personally, I think that's where that's going to go. I think it's going to be House of Black. Because I literally just thought of that like as we got on this call, too. Like,
Yeah.
where is the Undisputed Elite? Where did they go?
Well, Adam Cole, he's still recovering. Kyle O'Reilly's still recovering. Bobby Fish, the hell God knows where he is. No,
Yeah, that's
I,
why I
I just
strongly
know.
believe they
I
come
just
back and cost them the championship, and we have a 3v3 rivalry going on.
yes. I mean, I bet they're gonna change. I don't know if they're gonna change their name. Like, I don't know if they're gonna still be called the Undisputed Elite, or maybe I found this on the internet that their trio's name will be the Paragon.
The Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon.
I mean, at that point, if you're gonna change the name, dude, I would love to see Undisputed Era. Let Triple H let them take it back because that was their thing, and they killed every second of it too.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I mean, like Malachi Black and Miro, they're also having like a little rivalry as well.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm very shocked that they didn't show what happened to Malachi Black. I mean, you would think that would be something, how do I say this, important to the storyline, right?
I mean, yeah.
But it was just absent from the episode of Dynamite, and that's fine. I mean, I guess it leaves like kind of a cliffhanger
Yeah.
as to what happened. But
And I mean, yeah, they didn't show that, which is very odd. Like they didn't show like any clips that Malachi was attacked by Miro, even though Miro came out, had Malachi's mask, and attacked Buddy Matthews.
dude, he will always be Buddy Murphy in my eyes.
Yeah, yeah, Buddy Murphy. Yeah, it sounds better.
It does
Sounds
sound
better
better,
than
and I definitely feel like, I mean, that was a big step in evolving him into the character that he is now. Without him being Buddy Murphy, there is no Buddy Matthews. Because you want to talk about him becoming like a household name with the true professional wrestling fans, that's where he started.
yeah. Uh, yeah, he was. Um, he once had like a good relationship with Paul Heyman, really, and Paul Heyman was about to push uh, Buddy Matthews or Buddy Murphy, which he was known as back in time. But like, you get the point. Anyways, like he would push like Buddy into like a mid Carter, really, like to win like either the United States or the Intercontinental Championship. But then once like Paul Heyman decided to back down as the executive producer, then things change a bit for Buddy. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having Paul Heyman behind you, look at what it did for Rob Van Dam. Look at what it did for Brock Lesnar. You put that guy with
Yeah.
anybody and it helps a lot. You pull him away from anybody and it can go one of two ways.
Mhm.
Speaking of
Like
Paul Heyman,
yeah.
let's talk about the greatest heel in professional wrestling right now. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. Is he going to lose to Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle?
I mean, to be honest, I'm rooting for Drew.
You're
Just here's
rooting
why.
for Drew McIntyre?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Well,
Really?
because I mean, here's the thing. Here's my reason. Okay, like we saw in 2020 that he won the Royal Rumble, and he was gonna go to WrestleMania to challenge Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. But all of a sudden, there's a global pandemic, and they can't have WrestleMania at the I forgot the stadium's name in Tampa where the Buccaneers play.
Is it
Oh,
MetLife?
Raymond James. No, 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 no. That's Raymond James Stadium. That's what it is. MetLife Stadium. That's in like East Rutherford, New Jersey. That's like outside of New York. That's like across the border to New Jersey. Um. Also, so yeah. So yeah, he won the WWE Championship in front of a zero crowd against Brock Lesnar at the Performance Center in front of a zero crowd. So technically, he didn't. He had his moment, but not actually.
Right.
You know
I
what I
mean, it could
mean?
have been like 10 times better in hindsight. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks that that's how it happened. But the thing is, dude, for me, I want it to stay on Roman Reigns. And I will push and push and push until someone hears me out. I feel as if Roman Reigns is the best heel in the game. If you pull it off of him now, it hurts the company.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When was the last time Roman Reigns was in the ring with Drew McIntyre?
It has to be Royal Rumble, right? Isn't that the last time? They even shared
No,
anything close?
it was in the Survivor Series of 2020.
That's right.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, Drew McIntyre was the WWE champion. Roman Reigns was the Universal champion. Now, here's the thing. Drew never beaten Roman. And, like, yeah, like, their first one-on-one match together was WrestleMania 35. Yeah, 35 back in 2019. Which Drew lost. And then Stomping Grounds, Drew lost. And, yeah. Even though I don't count, like, yeah, Drew McIntyre eliminated Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and won the whole damn thing. But I mean, yeah, like, even though Roman Reigns had a new attitude, and so did Drew, he was like, literally back in 2020, he was a fucking beast. Really, he would just kicked out of one most of the time, and and my reason is that, yeah, the last time they were in a ring together was Survivor Series of 2020 when Drew was WWE champion and Roman was Universal champion. It was a good match. It was a nearly half-hour match, I believe. It was like around 20 to 30 minutes. But yeah, this was a different Drew that Roman faced, really.
I mean, babyface Drew is
Yeah.
arguably one of the most dominant champions of the last 5 years.
And
I
not
mean,
only
look
that,
look at
here's the
his
thing.
rap sheet, right? He beat Goldberg, he beat Brock Lesnar, which I mean, if you ask me, that's not very impressive because I think both of those guys are. I think Goldberg's washed up. I think Brock Lesnar can still kick it, but they just really haven't given him the opportunity to do so until SummerSlam, which was the best show WWE has had in years, if you ask me.
Yeah, that was a good main event.
I mean, as
That
a
was a
whole,
good
like,
main.
did you expect anything like that out of a Lesnar and Roman Reigns match? Because I didn't.
I didn't either.
I really feel like as soon as Triple H took over power, he was ready to change it up because he knows what the hardcore wrestling fans are looking for,
Yeah.
and it wasn't being provided by Vince McMahon by any means necessary.
Yes. Yeah, and like I said, like back to Survivor Series of 2020, like even though Jey Uso helped Roman beat Drew, just to let you know that. So I mean, like I said, like this is like the second time they're facing each other. Well, as Roman as a bad guy and Drew as a good guy. And it's and uh you saw on what's it what day? Friday. If you saw on Friday, yeah, he basically took out Roman, Claymore, and hold up the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And not only that, last week on Monday, um it was a Monday. It's when Roman, or not Roman, Drew uh was cutting a promo with Kevin Owens, and holy shit, that like shocked me.
Yeah, no,
That like
I'm
shocked
very
me so
excited. There's a lot of prospect going into this match as a whole. I mean, if you look at it, Triple H has so many opportunities right now to push so many different people. What if Austin Theory comes and cashes in? I mean, that would completely shake up the universe. I feel like he's going to hold it for a while. I feel like he's going to have probably like a 9-month run with the briefcase. And I don't feel like he'll
Yeah.
be successful. He'll probably be, the fourth person to unsuccessfully cash in?
Let's see. First was John Cena, then Damien Sandow, Baron Corbin, and Braun Strowman, and yeah, he'll be the fifth if he fails.
I always forget about Braun Strowman's very short-lived Money in the Bank.
He like announced like the place to cash in. Like he announced that he wants to challenge. Well, so did John Cena as well. They just announced the date that they will be challenging uh the WWE champion, Because he could do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a
Instead of
waste, though. I mean, the only person who did it successfully was Rob Van Dam, right?
First it was Edge, then Rob Van Dam.
Well, no, he did it successfully in the sense of like calling them out on a certain date, right? And being like, all right, this is the date that I'm cashing in, and I'm going to beat you. He was the only person to do it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the only person. Now that you said that, And let me tell you, there's like two matches, I believe, that they were for the Money in the Bank briefcase. For the Money in the Bank briefcase, not in a ladder match. It was just a standard singles match, and then they got changed hands.
Yeah, Mr. Kennedy and Edge. I remember that being the first one, and that's because Jeff Hardy actually hurt Edge in that spot from the jump off the top of the ladder. He wasn't supposed to actually hurt Edge, and Edge was unable to compete, so they had to put it on Kennedy and then make Kennedy lose it to Edge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and the second one was actually Otis versus The Miz.
Which I was so happy about, man. I cannot take that Otis guy seriously. His character was so whack at that point. I mean, his finisher is literally called the Caterpillar, man.
Yeah. And even though people were kind of pissed about it, really.
I know I was upset, but I was also upset when Theory won it. And to be honest with you, if Theory keeps going the way he's going, I'm okay with it. But at first, I was kind of upset.
You want to know something? You want to know something about Theory? After he won the Money in the Bank briefcase, he's been on a losing streak. Like he's been on like an 0-7 losing streak. But just recently, he beat Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, I was gonna say, besides his match with Dolph Ziggler, that was the first time he's won since he's won the Money in the Bank briefcase, right?
Yeah, it was like a month and a half.
That's actually so wild. Like, you put someone in the forefront of the spotlight, and then you make them lose. But the thing is, his character prevails no matter what. He gains attention, whether it's good, bad. He gets people to talk about him, so he's doing his job.
Yes, and I love the promo with the promo segment with him and Roman.
That was arguably one of Roman's greatest promos. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
he's gotten so much better on the mic just in the last year alone. I mean, that guy continues to impress me and impress me and impress me.
Yeah, because the past few years, like, he was like a top babyface, and nobody didn't give a shit at all because he couldn't find like the actual character for his gimmick. Like, soon, like people wanted him to turn heel.
Yeah, and we finally got it, and look where it went. I mean, if John Cena would have done that, it might have been groundbreaking. I'm not going to lie to you. everybody wanted John Cena to go heel, and if he would have actually became a heel, you know how hot he would have been?
I mean, yeah, yeah. Really though, like he didn't like he ne- like the only time he was heel is like back in like 2003 with this like Doctor of Thugonomics character.
And that was barely a heel. I mean, he was still pretty much a face. He was like the anti-hero, kind of like a Deadpool almost.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, it would have been so bad for business had John Cena turned heel, though. Think about all the T-shirt sales that man racked up over those 15 years of dominance.
yes,
And going on 20, honestly. I mean, now he's a part-timer now. The last 3 years he's been a part-timer. Shoot, what? Four
yes.
years almost? 2018, right?
2018. Yeah, since like 2018, he's been a part timer.
Yeah, that's what bothers me though. I don't like when they make that transition. I know that they all want to because they all want to be actors and make big money, but like The Rock when he left, there's a reason that you can't put him on Rushmore now, and it's because the accolades aren't there because when he left, he was no longer able to grab the championships that put John Cena at the top.
I'm just like, for example, I mean, Roman Reigns. He said he'll be going to Hollywood soon. So
Yeah, he had that little what was it? It was kind of like the curtain call, right? After a
yeah,
live event, they
yeah,
he
it
pulled
was a
out
curtain
the
call.
mic and asked nobody to record. I mean, they still did, of course, because well, it's 2022. But
Like, yeah, well, yeah, but if you say do not record, then fucking like, what do you expect? You know,
yeah, exactly. I
like,
mean, you asked for it at that point.
yeah, like why ask?
Yeah, you just go out, you say it. People won't be recording anyways. So, but the second you say, "Oh, don't pull out your phones and record this," everyone's pulling out their phone to record it. That's the
Yeah,
human nature, man.
just yeah, he'll be like, I bet, like, yeah, I think he's going to be in Hollywood like right after WrestleMania.
Do you think he's actually going to face The Rock at WrestleMania 38?
If he, oh boy, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know.
I would assume so. I mean, it's been talked about, and they name dropped The Rock a couple times, but I would be so happy if it didn't happen and it was someone else. Especially if The Rock beats him. I mean, look at CM Punk. When The Rock beat him, that was kind of like the spiral that ended up sending
Yeah,
him out of the company.
yeah, yeah. CM Punk. Yeah, he. Yeah, he deserves to be like in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, he at
But
WrestleMania 28. If you ask me, it should have been him and not CM Punk or not John Cena. The match with The
not.
Rock, once in a lifetime, awesome, whatever. But they also pushed WrestleMania 29 for them to be in the main event too. So why is the WWE Championship not in the main event? I don't know. Why was the World Heavyweight Championship not in the main event? I don't know. I thought when you won the Royal Rumble, that's what that meant. You main evented WrestleMania. That used to be what it meant. Now
Yes.
it doesn't. Now
Now
it's just, oh, you get a championship match.
it was, and here's the thing though. This was like after like the Royal Rumble of 2014, and no CM Punk walked backstage and had a conversation with Triple H and Vince McMahon. He like he said that he was done. You know, like he's like he said, everything I worked for, like I should be in the main event of WrestleMania. And even though Triple H mentioned that like you against the Undertaker, that was the main event, and he was like, "Bull fucking shit. Like the main event is the last match of the night.
Yeah, it's what closes it.
Yeah, like we're not that fucking stupid, really.
As much as Vince McMahon would like to treat us all like we are, we're not stupid. The main event, listen, it's just like the opening. It's the second most important part of the show is the opener.
Yes.
That's why Chris Jericho was upset with Vince McMahon because he put him and Kevin Owens on second at WrestleMania 33.
Yes.
He did an interview. I
Like,
don't remember. I think it was, gosh, what? He did an interview and he was talking about that. I remember it very vividly because I was like, that makes sense. I mean, the opener of the show, that's what grabs the people's attention. The closer of the show is what really sends them home, whether it's in a good mood or a bad mood. It sends them home with an impression.
yes. Like Vince McMahon, he didn't like the match with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho after. He didn't like it. I'm like, well, it's your fault for, booking them. It's your fault.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If they would have had a better time slot, too, well, how long was that match? Like, what, 15, 20 minutes?
Like nearly 15.
It might have been even less, to be honest. Like, it could have been
Like,
like 10, 15 range.
yeah, around 10, 15
Yeah,
minutes.
that's disgusting. Chris Jericho, he is arguably one of the most decorated performers to grace the sport as a whole. I mean, he's won gold everywhere, man. Look at him. AEW. He was the one that really established like the legitimacy. People kind of looked at it different when they heard Chris Jericho was part of AEW because that's a big name. That's someone who's been around for years, man, years.
Yes. Like he's been winning championships like in WWE, AEW included, New Japan, and WCW and ECW. Like he like June after, well actually like around 2018, like actually it was actually in December 2017 when he started uh to come to New Japan, and, and he was going to go after Kenny Omega for the IWGP um, IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. So he was still part of WWE, and so yeah, he went off to Japan. He fought Kenny Omega for the U.S. title, even though it was a losing effort. It was a losing effort, and um, he also and like a few weeks later, he went back to WWE and made an appearance on Raw, and he was wearing a like a Painmaker shirt, I
I
believe.
think it
No,
was the
no,
Alpha shirt, wasn't it?
yeah. It was the Alpha shirt. I don't. I mean, he was also the Painmaker in New Japan, really. Like he was the Painmaker when he was the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Like he beat Naito, like Tetsuya Naito, to become the IWGP champion.
I
And he
thought it
held
was
it
so
for
cool when he brought like the Painmaker gimmick out because it's something we haven't seen from Chris Jericho before, and it shows
yeah,
honestly just like how good he is as a performer. He can do it all, man.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I love the Painmaker. I love the Painmaker gimmick, and also, yeah, this was like his 10th Intercontinental Championship of all professional wrestling. Like once in New Japan and 9 times in WWE. So yeah, um, he it was actually he held it for 209 days as IWGP Intercontinental Champion,
How
which
many,
was longer. than any of his Intercontinental Championship reigns in WWE.
How many defenses did he have?
What in New Japan?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna look it up.
Yep, we got our little computers
Yeah,
ready for that.
yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, IWGP Championship. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here it is. He only had one successful defense, and he was champion for 209 days.
So kind of similar to what we were talking about with Swerve Scott the other day.
Oh yeah,
Talk about a lackluster reign. One defense.
yeah, one successful defense.
One successful, and then the other attempt. Who did he lose it to?
Carmelo Hayes.
No, I'm not talking about Swerve. I'm talking about Jericho.
Oh, he lost it to. Wasn't I closed out? I closed out accidentally, so I'm going back to it. Hold on, give me a second.
That's fine. Take your time. We are in no rush. We've got a whole list to go through still. I mean, I don't know what's all on your list for topics of discussion, but
Yeah, wasn't. Did he lose it? Yeah, he lost it to. Tetsuya Naito, January 4th, 2019, at Wrestle Kingdom 13, Tokyo, Japan, and it was a no disqualification match.
so wait, he beat Naito only to drop it back to Naito?
No, sorry, I'm just going fast on this point, really. No, Naito beat Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom 13, and it was a no disqualification match.
Who did Naito or who did Jericho beat for it?
Naito.
So he beat him and then lost
Like,
to him?
yeah, he beat him. He beat Naito. Okay, this is the date that he beat him. June 9th, 2018. At Dominion 6.9 in Osaka, Japan. And Jericho held it for 209 days, which led to January 4th, 2019, at Wrestle Kingdom 13, where he lost it to Naito in a no disqualification match.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, bada bing, bada boop, bada boop.
That one's it's very interesting to me. What if they were to do a trilogy? I know Jericho is no longer in the pain maker gimmick or anything like that. I mean, he brought it back against Nick Gage, and he's used it a couple times here and there. But
yeah, he also brought it back when he faced Eddie Kingston in
yep.
a barbed wire massacre match. I don't know if it was called the barbed wire massacre match or just called a barbed wire match. I don't know.
I think it was massacre. I believe that they threw an extra word in there just to make it sound a little bit more interesting, per se. To sound more revolutionary. I feel like they do that quite a bit in AEW, like exploding barbed wire death match, which was a flop, by the way. The match itself was good, but the exploding barbed wire part was actually kind of bad.
There was no exploding barbed wire. No.
It was so lackluster. Like when the ring, quote unquote, exploded, it was just more like a sparkler went off.
Yeah. No, you're talking about Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. How they did the exploding barbed wire death match. They did the barbed wire massacre match, which it was pretty much just a barbed wire match.
Yes.
Yeah, they just throw an extra term in there to get you interested and grab your attention a little bit more.
Yes. But yeah, yeah, like I said, like Jericho, he has like a lot of nicknames, really. He has like a lot of nicknames. Like he's known as Le Champion and the Wizard, the Lionheart, and usually the Painmaker.
Yeah, no, he is actually one of the greatest to ever do it. Simply because, like, look at his accolades in every company he's been. I mean, we were just talking about it. But I know one of the things on my list is Mount Rushmore, and I think we could circle to that right now if you wanted to make that jump. Because if you talk about wrestling as a whole, and you don't talk about Chris Jericho's influence across every company, and you can't put him on Mount Rushmore if you ask me. But if there was a fifth head, I'd be pushing for either Jericho or like an HBK, and we'll get to my 4 when we get to the Mount Rushmore topic. But talk about changing the game. You talk about Chris Jericho. You should at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chris Jericho. Yeah. To be honest, I liked him, and yeah, he was IWG Continental Champion, and let me tell you, gonna miss they retired the IWG Continental Championship with the IWG Heavyweight Championship, and unified them both with the IWGP World.
I miss the Intercontinental. I mean, that's like the WWE Intercontinental Championship. It's such a staple. Getting rid of it kind of seems like a waste, in my opinion.
Yes. Bad. Too bad.
So who's the U.S. champion right now? Isn't it Will Ospreay?
Yeah, Will Ospreay. Yeah.
Technically, but he doesn't have the belt because the one dude won't give it up, right?
No, he got the belt back.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, it was during the G1 climax.
Okay. Well, that's good because I mean he definitely deserves to have the belt considering he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. If you talk about just in-ring ability as a whole, you got to talk about Will Ospreay.
Yes.
He is the peak of like athleticism in professional wrestling. I mean, Ricochet's got to be up there too, but he doesn't get used properly, so not much to talk about there.
Oh yeah. He was the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion at one point. Beat Kota Ibushi, which Kota Ibushi won the Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 15, and then a couple months later, he unified them both, and he became the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship or champion. Sorry, and he only held it for a month. And lost it to Will Ospreay. And then, 46 days later, as Will Ospreay got an ankle injury, so they had to vacate the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So they had I believe they had a little tournament. Is that correct? Did they have a tournament?
I like that we have literally everything we could possibly need at our hands. It like arm's length away. You know, we all have cell phones and stuff, so you can look up anything you want.
Yes. And
So beautiful.
Was it a neck injury? Yes, it was a neck injury. And was it a turn? It only says that Shingo Takagi and Kazuchika Okada. So yeah, Shingo Takagi. That's how you pronounce it. Takagi. I always say it's Takagi, but it's Takagi.
I always
He
have such a
defeated.
hard time with those Japanese professional wrestlers' names, man.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it took me a while to figure out Tanahashi.
Tanahashi. Yeah. And Shingo Takagi defeated Kazuchika Okada, yeah, become the IWGP champion. Then 211 days later, as actually no. What am I saying? Like all the champions right now. Like we should be focusing on Will Ospreay because here's the thing. Like this was 3 months after he got in. He like after his injury, where he appeared on Resurgence, was a pay per view, August of 2021, where he appeared through the crowd with another IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and he's saying that he's the real world champion, and the person that who's holding the other belt is the interim. Like I mean, like it says in the history books that Will Ospreay was forced to relinquish the title neck injury. So no.
I Yeah, here's the thing with Will Ospreay. Here's the thing with any champion who has to relinquish or like when they bring in the interim, it always makes a good storyline. You can never go wrong having two champions because what happens? People have to pick between one or the other as the true champion, and it can build up from there. So I like that. I like what AEW is doing right now with CM Punk and Jon Moxley. That rivalry. I mean, just in the 2 episodes that we've had, where they've been face to face with each other, you can feel the tension. And it truly is like such a beautiful thing. I mean, I genuinely love, like, as a whole, I love what they're doing with Jon Moxley right now. I like him so much better as a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. I know that was very off topic, but
Yep. That was me. That was me.
I just want to make sure
My
that you were
bad.
still alive. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, you say that again about interim champions and the real champion.
I think like that is always a good storyline, whether it's a kayfabe injury or not. You can never go wrong with it. I mean, look at CM Punk, John Cena. When CM Punk came back and held the championship up just a little bit higher than John Cena, and the crowd went wild, much more wild than they went for John Cena. Stuff like that always grabs viewers' interest, and I
You want to know
genuinely
something?
think like it is such a good marketing strategy.
You want to know something? I already told you this that the reason why I got into professional wrestling is because of that contract signing between CM Punk and John Cena, both WWE champions.
Yeah, it's a interest grabber immediately. I mean, you can't. You see two champions automatically in your mind. You're like, well, when are they going to unify it? Who's going to be the real champ? And that contract signing, that was the perfect time for WWE to push the perfect guy, CM Punk, and they did it right. And I wish that in the last couple of years, we would have had more things similar to that. And I feel like we kind of got robbed, but I feel that Triple H is going to be able to bring that back, so that's cool. And I feel like he's been doing a good job. I mean, we had 3 pay-per-view worthy matches on 1 episode of Raw.
Yeah, like AJ Styles versus Bobby Lashley.
Drew McIntyre versus Kevin Owens,
Yes.
and Austin Theory versus Dolph Ziggler, who I am so glad is getting more TV time.
Yes. What about Robert Roode, for example? What
I
about
would love to see him get more TV time. For the love of God, WWE, put this guy on television because he was over in NXT. If he would have stuck with that same gimmick, if they would have just kept him as Robert Roode, or well, not Robert, if they would have, was it Robert?
no? It was Bobby Roode.
Bobby Roode, that's right. Yeah, dude, it's been so long since I've heard him get called Bobby Roode. Even I screwed it up. That's the problem. You can't bring him up to the main roster and do nothing with him. I mean, he's a world class talent.
Yeah, and get this. He's actually the longest reigning uh, TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Like they call him up like after he was done with TNA.
Yeah, when he was in Beer Money too, I mean, they revolutionized the TNA tag team division.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He had such a big impact on TNA, and it is such a waste. It hurts me so deeply to see him getting wasted on WWE television because of all of the things that he did in TNA.
Yeah,
Quite
like
unfair.
you remember last January, it was at the Royal Rumble where AJ Styles came out at number one and Robert Roode came out at number four. And both of them were in the same ring at the same time, and they went face to face, and everybody started chanting.
Yeah, that was a legendary moment. It doesn't get talked about as much as it should.
And do you also remember that there was that night where they opened up the Forbidden Door with Molina and Mickey James? It's Molina, she's from NWA, and Mickey James, who at the time was the Impact Knockouts World Champion. He even came out with the belt as well.
I that one was very interesting because they were talking about like this Forbidden Door, right?
Yeah,
I thought we were gonna see like Moose or something come over with Mickey James.
that would
That
have been surprising.
that was such a letdown of a Royal Rumble. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like there was all this pent up like
And you even
tension
call it.
and oh
And you,
who's gonna break this Forbidden Door, and no one did in the men's side at least. The only one who
yeah,
did on the women's side was Mickey James.
and Melina as well. Don't forget,
Well,
she's from
okay, Melina though, she already had like it's not like she came over with a championship or
I mean, yeah, but even though she's like signed to NWA,
yeah. I mean that NWA though as a promotion, I mean it's great. It's got a long history, but how often do you hear about NWA in comparison to like AEW or TNA or WWE?
even though like AEW, I mean, they're partners.
Yeah, I heard that Tony Khan's trying to bring back the original, like the God, what was it called? Regions, the regions of wrestling. You know how they had that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was like before like WWE went out in public. You know,
Yeah, that was before Hulk Hogan made it like a household name and stuff like that. That's like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, stuff like that.
Harley Race.
Yeah, Harley Race, one of the greatest to ever do it. He had a pretty big influence too. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa paid his respect to him in that U.S. Championship match, which I totally thought he was going to win. By the way, kind of upset
Yeah,
about that one. I love Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Lashley to me still feels kind of green inside of that ring. And Tommaso Ciampa as a champion, no matter what championship you give him, it's Tommaso Ciampa.
yeah. And yeah, like do you feel like that Tampa will become babyface at one?
I hope so. The only thing that I think is preventing that is that he's now with the Miz, right? The Miz is enemies with Logan Paul, who they're also kind of trying to push, interestingly enough. So I feel
And
like for a while he's going to stick with the Miz, and then eventually once the whole Miz Logan Paul thing blows over, then we're going to have Tommaso flip the script and switch on Miz, or the Miz switches on him and goes babyface, which I would prefer not to see that because he's such a natural heel, but
I mean, that's what the Miz does. He will use somebody, then turns on them like months prior.
like Jomo,
Jomo.
John Morrison.
Oh.
He used him. He rode his coattails through three tag team championships before turning on him the first time in 2007, 2008.
It was 2009.
Dang, dude, that was the
2009. And as soon as he came back, like they've been a tag team for like a year and a half, and then like John Morrison was just, let's just say, being like a little goofball with some like one of those what's it called that squirts out water? Oh,
the squirt gun.
yeah, the squirt gun. Some shit. I don't
When
know
he
what
was in
it's
the
called.
wheelchair, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, when he was in the wheelchair, yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. One of my buddies said that Miz is like the cardboard cutout of what a heel should be in the wrestling industry. What do you think about that? I mean, honestly, I don't agree because in ring Miz does still leave something to desire, but as like on the mic, it doesn't really get better than the Miz if you look at his career as a whole on the mic.
Yeah.
Do you feel that might be a accurate representation or no? That he is what a heel should be.
Yes. Like he can talk the talk, but he can't walk the walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he never really has either. I mean, he's the only two-time Grand Slam champion, but that's his only two world championships too. Whereas you've got people like Randy Orton who have 14, 15, 16. Look at you want to talk about a real heel. Let's talk about Ric Flair. He was the one who really made heels what they are. Loudmouth,
Yeah, loudmouth,
dirty.
dirty.
I mean, he is the cardboard cutout for a heel. He's got the flash.
And he has this like little catchphrase: "If you want to be the man, you gotta beat the man."
Well, and then he had the whole like jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, kiss stealing.
Son of a gun. You know?
Yeah, he was the first person to really be his own. I wouldn't really say that. He's not. He wasn't the first person to be his own mouthpiece, but he was the first person to take a heel role and really run with it like that. He did revolutionize what it meant to be a heel in the industry.
Yeah.
Which I think this is a perfect time to switch over to the Mount Rushmore, because talk about revolutionizing the game. Does Ric Flair belong on the Mount Rushmore?
I mean, he started as like the best heel in the wrestling business, so I would say yes.
Yeah, but I mean, you want to hear my list of Mount Rushmore?
I would say okay. I would say Bruno Sammartino.
Ooh, that dates back though, man. That dates back. So when I was thinking of Mount Rushmore, I was also thinking about influence as a whole on the industry and like every single one of my guys though is like purely WWE. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, I'm just saying because like I'm just saying because Bruno Sammartino, he was a pioneer of professional wrestling.
Yeah, doesn't he hold the longest championship reign of all time?
Yeah, 2,803 days.
How many years is that?
8 years.
Oh my gosh. Didn't Andre hold it for something close to that, like 5 years or something?
No, he was just no, he didn't. He was undefeated for 15
Oh,
years.
that's right. Yeah, undefeated. It wasn't championship, it was undefeated. How do you go undefeated for 15 years and not have a championship for at least half of it?
Well, they. I mean, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's undefeated, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of dumb because they think that he's Howard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Andre deserves all the respect in the world. He was a huge part in making WWF what it is, but Hulk Hogan, right? Let's talk about baby faces real quick. Let's talk about making someone look invincible. Hulk Hogan.
Yes,
I think he's kind of a scumbag. I mean, we've touched on this before,
yes.
but when you talk about revolutionizing professional wrestling as a whole, who made it a household name? Hulk Hogan. Yeah, who made WWF what it was? Hulk Hogan. I mean,
Hogan.
he was on the cereal boxes, he was on commercials, he was Mr. America.
Yes,
He defended America's honor at WrestleMania 7, right? Against Sergeant
yes,
Slaughter.
yes. It was
Yeah. I mean, you look at a role model, like he was the beginning, he was the prior to John Cena. You look at years of domination and years of being the face of a company. Hulk Hogan started that. John Cena or Hulk Hogan was a precursor to John Cena.
yes,
And so that's number one on my Mount Rushmore right there. Hulk Hogan, not a huge fan of him personally, like I said, but as an influencer to the professional wrestling industry, you can't leave out that name.
yeah,
So then that leads me to my second name on the list, Undertaker.
okay,
He was kind of the first person to ever usher in like that dark gimmick, like so outlandish, but you can still get behind it. He was the first person to really ever do that and make a success out of it. And so to that alone could put you up in the greatest of all time list. But then you got to look at his accolades. I mean, he's won the Royal Rumble. He's won plenty of championships, and the streak. No, I don't
yeah,
think they should have ended it. To be honest with you, I think he should have retired undefeated at WrestleMania. But
yeah,
and his influence in the locker room as well.
yes,
I mean, they talk about there's so many interviews where people just talk about like Undertaker being the voice of the locker room, like the Montreal Screwjob. Who was the person who handled it before or well after everything went down? I guess Undertaker. He was the one that was really doing all the dirty work, or not really dirty work, but all the work backstage to kind of fix what had happened. Because what happened, I mean, the Montreal Screwjob will forever go down as one of the most infamous moments in all of professional wrestling.
yeah,
So number two, Undertaker. Number three, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because when you talk about the Attitude Era, which a lot of people would argue is the greatest era of all time, you can't go without talking about the one and only Stone Cold Steve Austin. So of course I had to put him on my list. And he
yes,
really did usher it in. Without Stone Cold, do we have the Attitude Era? And then number four on my list, John Cena, 16-time world champion, 15 years of absolute dominance and doing exactly what he needed to do for the company, which was be the babyface and be the next Hulk Hogan, right? And I think
yeah,
he did it better. I think he did exactly what Vince wanted him to do, and he killed every second of it. As much as I got sick and tired of it as a fan, he did. He had 15 years of domination. So
yeah. So yeah, that's your Mount Rushmore.
So that's mine. I would like to hear what you have. I mean, you got 4 faces to put on Mount Rushmore. Who are your 4?
I mean, to be honest, I agree with your like. I'm into your like Mount Rushmore because I have like nothing for my Mount Rushmore.
I mean, I feel like that list is solid. I took like the whole week to think about it. I've been talking with several people about it. I've talked to a bunch of my friends. I talked to you several times. I mean, we've gone over this already before, but
I mean, it makes sense, really.
I mean, if I feel like the list that I put out really does, like you said, make sense. If you look at influence and what they did, regardless of just championships or whatever. I mean, I would love to put Flair up on that list. I would love to put Orton up on that list because Orton, day in and day out, has sweat and you know he's done everything for that company as well. But if you talk about 4 gigantic influences just for WWE alone, those 4 guys stand out. For professional wrestling alone, those 4 guys still stand out. But there's a couple names that I could mention, like Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega. Talk about professional wrestling and great in-ring performers, great champions. Talk about Kenny Omega. He's got to be up there somewhere, but he's still got so much time left. By the time he's done, I guarantee he's on Mount Rushmore. What do you think?
I gotta agree with
Kenny Omega is, if you ask me, he is the best professional wrestler, singles or not, in the world today. And I was so happy to see him come back on Dynamite.
Yeah, I was happy too. We thought it was gonna be Adam Page at first.
Yeah, no, I was definitely sold on like the Adam Page, and then I saw him turn it down for the Dark Order because he's gonna be in their corner or whatever it was.
Yeah,
That was sick. I'm not gonna lie. They did a very good job. Like there was no rumors or anything that Kenny Omega was in the building or anything like that. We
yeah,
all kind of knew once Adam Page turned it down. Who else, right?
yeah.
Brandon Cutler? No, there's no shot.
No,
So I've got a little bracket here for us, talking about the 5th head of Mount Rushmore. I'll give this guy a little shout out. Whoever his name is, We the Figs. He posted it on his story. He was doing the 5th head of Mount Rushmore. On there already is Stone Cold, Cena, Hogan, and Undertaker, just like me. Okay. His first round, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton. I mean, who are you picking between those two to be the 5th head of Mount Rushmore?
I gotta say, um, I would say Randy Orton.
Really, over Shawn Michaels?
Well, yeah, I mean, just that like Randy Orton, he also won plenty of championships.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, a 14-time world champion?
Yeah, 14-time world champion.
Yeah, that he's one of the greats. But if you talk about Mount Rushmore, I feel like a lot of it has to do with influence. And Shawn Michaels was kind of the first guy to not be, big and muscular and all juiced up, to really make an impact on wrestling. He definitely helped usher in the Attitude Era. If he wouldn't have gotten injured, I feel like the discussion is a lot different because I feel like he would have had a lot more championships too. But I would take HBK personally, um, but that's just me.
Also, okay. Oh yeah, if you have a fifth head on Mount Rushmore, yeah, so you would be so yours is Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton.
So that's just for round one. So this guy he set up a whole bracket. So like for the first matchup, on the left side of the bracket, it was Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton. The second one is Chris Jericho, Mick Foley, which I really don't know how you could put Mick Foley in this list at all.
No.
Because influence on the game, Mick Foley did great things, but I just don't think, if you're talking influence, I don't think that name should pop up. So I have Chris Jericho easily over Mick Foley. And then Macho Man and The Rock, that's the third one on the left side. That one's a hard one for me because, like, The Rock, talk about the Attitude Era and don't talk about The Rock, it's impossible. But at the same time, talk about the Golden Era and don't talk about Randy Savage, or the New Generation Era and don't talk about Randy Savage. I dare you. But I'm going to take The Rock for that one. I don't know about you. What's your pick?
I take The Rock.
The Rock over Macho? All right. Brock Lesnar or Andre the Giant?
Imagine if Brock Lesnar ever defeated Andre the Giant.
That would be huge. Could you imagine
Yeah.
like where his career would have went?
Yes.
But that one's hard because Andre the Giant, I mean, got to give credit where credit is due. He's great. One of the most influential guys. I mean, he was in The Princess Bride. He became a household name too. Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, he first started, high school wrestling, then college wrestling, then football, then WWE. And in WWE, he was the youngest champion ever until Randy Orton, right?
So he's like, Brock Lesnar is the youngest WWE champion.
And Randy Orton's the youngest world
heavyweight champion.
Right. So Brock Lesnar, very big influence. I'd pick him over Andre personally. I mean, look at his championships. He beat the streak. He's won the Royal Rumble. He's won the Money in the Bank. I mean, the guy's done it all too.
Yeah.
So between him or Andre, I got to take Brock, and Brock is still a big name. He has such a draw power. It's kind of ridiculous. But
I take Brock as well.
All right. And then let's start on the right side. So on the right side, Roman Reigns or Batista?
I got to go with Roman.
Yeah, I got to go with Roman as well. I mean, look at what he's doing now. His body of work is incredible, and he's never been hotter until now.
He's in God mode.
He is in God mode. All right, matchup number 2 on the right side. This is where it gets difficult. Triple H or Ric Flair?
I mean, Triple H defeated Ric Flair before.
True, but I mean, if we're just going based off of who wins, I mean, that's a different discussion. But I mean, if you got to put someone on the head of Mount Rushmore, are you taking Triple H or are you taking Ric Flair?
I mean, yeah, Ric Flair, he's a 16-time world champion. And Triple H, he's a 14-time world champion, but you saw him became the chief operating officer of WWE back in 2011. Maybe it was 2010, but you get the point. Then up to him developing NXT, NXT, and now he's in Pro.
Yeah, I mean, he's changing the game still. I don't want to really throw in like what they're doing from the office side, because if we're talking about office side antics, we got to put Vince McMahon on the list too, because without him there is no WWF, which means there is no WWE. So I think I'm gonna take Flair over Triple H. I love Triple H. He's actually one of my favorite of all time, second to Chris Jericho. Um, it goes Chris Jericho, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. But yeah, so I'm gonna take Ric Flair on that one. Kurt Angle or Bret Hart?
Uh, uh, I gotta say Bret Hart.
That's what I said too. Honestly, I don't know how you could put Kurt Angle on the list in terms of like changing the game. Did he really ever do that? No. Was he ever anything different than someone else in the company? Yes, but to the extent of like a Stone Cold, an Undertaker, a Ric Flair, a John Cena, no. So for
Okay,
that reason, I'm going Bret Hart,
yeah.
who
Final.
is still arguably one of the greatest technicians to grace the WWE. So
Yeah. What's the final one?
final one: Seth Rollins or Rey Mysterio. This is an interesting matchup because, well, both of them, they've done their own things, but like Rey Mysterio, he was the first
he's a
ever luchador to win a championship, wasn't he, in WWE?
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I'm going Rey Mysterio over Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins
Yeah,
still has a
yeah.
lot of career left, though, so.
I mean, yeah, Rey Mysterio, yeah, he's a legend, really.
Yeah,
He's a
so
legend.
I'm taking Rey Mysterio. You're taking Rey Mysterio as well?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to write these down because next week what we'll do is we'll pick up where we left off with that, and we'll just keep working down it week by week.
All right. How long have we been? How long have you been doing this? For like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Hour and a half. Yeah, hour and a half.
Yeah.
Hour and 33.
You think that's enough?
I think so. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, did you get everything off of your list that you wanted to talk about?
Well, we should end this. We should end the podcast with a 5-answer quiz.
You're right.
Or 5 questions. So yeah.
All
So
right.
what we're gonna do every Mobcast we're doing, like if we're about to like before we end the Mobcast, we're gonna do a 5-question quiz that relates to professional wrestling. It could be question like some of the questions could be related to WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, AAA, you name it. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do before we end the Mobcast.
So, yeah. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get some followers and things like that into so that they can answer the questions and possibly win prizes down the line. Just a little heads up to the listeners.
So are you ready for the questions?
I am.
Okay, first question. What pay-per-view did The Undertaker throw Mankind off the top of the Hell in a Cell structure, propelling him 22 feet through the air and landed through one of the commentators' tables?
Wasn't it King of the Ring 97?
Okay, you could. I was about to give you answers. Man.
Okay, but did I get it?
No.
It's King of the Ring, though, isn't it?
Let me.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, is it A, King of the Ring 98? B, Survivor Series 96? C, In Your House 11, Buried Alive 96? Or D, King of the Ring 96?
Oh, is it 96 or is it 98? I'm gonna go 98 then.
You are correct.
Let's go. Okay, got one right.
Okay. Who won a ladder match at AEW Dynamite Beach Break to become the undisputed AEW champion? Was it A, Cody Rhodes, B, Sammy Guevara, C, Scorpio Sky, or D, Wardlow?
Sammy Guevara.
Correct.
So that one was a little bit of a lob for me.
Yeah.
After making me think hard on that last one.
Yeah. Okay, the third question. Who holds the record of being the longest reigning IWGP Heavyweight Champion for 720 days? Was it A. Antonio Inoki, B. Hiroshi Tanahashi, C. Ichika Okada, or D. Kenny Omega?
Okada.
Correct.
Let's go. All right, what's the next one?
Who ended Samoa Joe's 645-day reign as Ring of Honor World Champion? Was it A. Nigel McGuinness, B. Austin Aries, D. AJ Styles, or D. Christopher Daniels?
I want to go Styles, but that sounds too obvious. Well, I'm going Styles.
Nope. It was Austin Aries.
Dude, that was my other pick too. I thought it was either Austin Aries or AJ Styles.
Gosh. Okay. No, this is the fifth one. Final question. Okay. What was the main event of the first ever TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view in 2005 for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship? Was it A. Kevin Nash versus Jeff Jarrett, B. Dane versus Kurt Angle, C. Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, or D. Rhino versus Jeff Jarrett?
I'm going C.
Going with Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my friend, you were wrong on that one.
Who is it?
It was Rhino versus Jeff Jarrett.
Ah, dude, that was my other. I feel like Dante from Mustache Bros Wrestling. The way that I'm like, I have one of two left in my mind, and every single time I pick the first one, it's always wrong. So I just got to start going with the second option.
But yeah, so that's it for the podcast today. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll making more soon. Like we're doing this on like a weekly basis. So.
Yeah, we're shooting for Sunday shoots and preferably up by Sunday night. Yeah.
Yeah. It just depends. It depends, like of what timing that we have. If we're like busy during the day, we just do it at night.
Exactly.
If we're not busy at the day, we could just do it at 1.
And once we become more established, obviously there will be more of a like set time, but for the time being, it's just what works out best for both of us.
But yeah, we'll be making more Mobcasts soon. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you in the second episode.
Yep. See you on episode 2, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the Underground Mobcast, and peace out.
Later.